Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone, and this is our every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. live FAQ and, other things that are on our minds and etc. Coming at you live from Tampa, Florida. Um, we still don't have, well, this morning I didn't really have an amazing place to shoot, so I'm just sitting in the Jeep like I was last week. Hopefully next week that will be fixed. I told you there might be one more or so of these that we do in this way. So, but here we are. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We do like a pre-recorded normal YouTube video every Monday, and we do a live video on Thursdays. If you cannot make it to the live video and you're watching this in replay, you can go over to patreon.com/DylanTalksTone. You can ask your question there, and if you ask your question there, I 100% make sure that we guarantee that we answer it for you in this FAQ. That's one way to do that. Or you can go ahead and ask it in the chat side over there. Just know that that thing gets ripping pretty fast, and sometimes I don't get to all the questions in that thing. So what I'm doing really quick is I've got my Surface Pro 7 on my lap, and I am going to bring up the video on here so that I can follow the live chats if there are any, and make sure that if you use a super chat that I do not miss your comment or question, so that we can make sure that we give you a shout out. So that's that. So let's get right into our FAQs, and then we're going to talk about, obviously you saw the thumbnail, that's probably why you're here. I am very, very passionate about this subject, and we are going to discuss it. I accidentally posted this last night, and people were like, I don't know why we have to talk anymore about this, but we do, and there's a reason. There is a very good reason why, so we'll get to that in just a few minutes. So first of all, let's go straight to our Patreon questions, because that's what we do when we do these live FAQs about guitar stuff. We had a viewer over there ask, he was down a little bit on budget on his guitar build, and of course he just used what he had, and he put together a telly. It's a real long thing, so I'm just kind of paraphrasing here. And he ended up with a volume pot that was a 500K pot and a tone pot that was a 250K pot on a telly, and he said, is there any emergency? Is there a reason why I need to change this thing back to two 250K pots? Not really. I mean, if it sounds good, use it. That's kind of the thing. I actually use, mine's kind of the different. I like to use, like on a telly, I'll use a 250K volume pot, and I'll use a 500K tone pot audio taper, so that it allows a nice long taper to the volume. So I think it's really cool. That's a great question. But use whatever you have, obviously, to get the project started. And then maybe if you only have two, flip them back and forth and see if that makes a difference to you. If it doesn't really matter. The thing about this guitar stuff, and we're going to talk about this, the whole leave Rob alone situation, none of this really matters as long as it sounds good to you, right? So 500s are going to give you a little bit more highs in your tone than 250s, but again, it doesn't much matter as long as you like it. Okay, and then we have another question came in over on Patreon too, asking about Fender Precision pickups, the bass pickups. He said this is normally out of this is out of my realm because I'm not a super bass nerd. However, I do know the answer. He's asking why, like, precision bass pickups are split into two smaller coils. They each have 10,000 winds on them, but they're actually smaller. The coils are smaller. If you were to, it would just sound different. The bottom line is it would sound different. If you put those if you built those coils into one, well, it's basically a jazz bass pickup, or it's basically like a P90. And it would just completely sound different. The frequency response would be completely different, and it would just be wrong for the guitar. I don't want to say wrong for the guitar. I've built conventional humbuckers. I've built uh, like humbucking jazz pickups, where we took two jazz bass pickups, put them side by side, and wired them as humbuckers. We've done that kind of stuff before. And so again, if it sounds good, it is good. However, the precision bass has become kind of a standard because of its sound. Well, it has become a standard because of its sound. And the thing is that it would just completely change it would completely change it if it was one big coil. It would honestly sound really close to a P90 or a Jazz Master. Well, it would sound really close to a P90 because it's the same dimensions. It's a 1/4 inch tall, I think, if I can remember right. It's a 1/4 inch tall, but if you were to put it in one long pickup and wind it, it would have almost the same exact dimensions as a P90 pickup. Really good questions. And I want to dive more into the bass pickup stuff on like an actual video. We just haven't got there yet. That is on my list. That is absolutely on my list. Give me 1 second, and I've got a couple more questions that came in over here last night. The internet where I am is a touch slow. This is on 4G on my phone, but my computer is on internet. So live FAQ. Whereabouts in the state of Florida will you be? I am in Tampa right now. Is it better to try to change a guitar tone with an EQ pedal first before replacing the pickups? Surely you can sculpt your tone more with an EQ pickup or with an EQ pedal. You can. Here's the thing about using an EQ. This is an interesting thing. I love this. In a passive guitar, everything that you do to the tone is actually taking away from it. So the pickup, and this is the way I like to liken it. Like, let's say you have a pickup that can make a sound from low frequencies to high frequencies, and it's really good making this particular frequency. They call that the resonant peak of that pickup. So it's really good from here to here, and it's really, really, really good right here. Okay, right in the middle, or left or right to the middle a little bit. But that's all that pickup can do. It can't do any more than that. Okay, so if you put a tone pot in it, all you're doing is you're filtering off of that. Anything you add to a passive guitar before the amp or before the first pedal, so from, I like to look at this as the guitar, the entire guitar, including the tone circuit and the guitar cable, because that's part of it. So the guitar cable is part of your initial guitar circuit because it actually affects the entire capacitance of that whole setup. So you've got this much sound that this guitar can make from here to here, and it's really good right here. Okay, when anything you add to that before the amp or before off the end of the cable, anything you add before the end of the cable is going to literally take away from that. Now, once you hit the pedal board, now you're adding amplifiers. So all an EQ is, it's an amp. All it is it's more or less a preamp with frequencies that it can boost and cut. But it only can adjust and do what it sees. So it still has the limits of whatever pickup you have in front of it. You cannot put a frequency back in that does not exist here. It can push a frequency up, but if that pickup is not good at making that frequency, it's never really going to be right. So what we always tell people is, you'll see on my website, we only make anymore one set of tele pickups, because my feeling is, instead of making a pickup that, and all these other brands do this, they're like, we have this pickup and it's a 50s whatever, and then we have this and it's a 60s whatever, and we have this and it's a, you know, whatever. Why not make a pickup that goes from here to here and not worry about it? Um, so that's really the thing. I feel like uh, if the pickup is super, super narrow, you're never going to be able to put something in it that's not there. Period. It's just not going to happen. Um, and really, what you're doing, for lack of a better word, I mean, there's a better way to explain this probably, but you're just boosting parts of voltages with an EQ pedal, and it doesn't really. If your pickup sounds bad, you're not going to be able to make it sound good with an EQ. Because if it's not there in the first place, it's not there. You know, that's really it. Can you please explain the physics of playing in front of or behind the selected pickup? So, if you're playing and you've got this pickup, and I really want to drink some coffee, but you guys are making me use my hands. So if you're playing with this pickup and you pick here or here, it's going to sound different. That goes back to, if you watch the video on the Les Paul versus the SG, and we talk all about nodes and anti-nodes, and where you're picking it, you're creating the initial node. Now it levels out as the guitar string moves back and forth, but the long and the short of it is you're creating the initial node in a different place. That's really what you're doing. And if you go back and watch that video about Les Paul versus SG and what the difference is, that'll really explain that, because we really dive into that on that particular thing. What's the difference between an MFD jumbo and an MFD single coil? This is a Music Man pickup. I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I've not looked inside. I do not know. I'm not sure. And I hate to say that, but I would rather be honest with you and say I don't know than make something up. Because that's not how I roll. I do know that if I could get a hold of some, I will. Okay, so before we get into this Rob thing, I'm going to tell you a couple other really, and oh, by the way, that is all of the questions that came in online. If you have any that you want to ask, put them in the chat right now. And if you use a super chat, especially, because it lights up and I won't miss it. A couple things of news. I told you that I was using money from Patreon to buy the PRS TCI pickups so that we could do an experiment. Well, it turns out that you cannot buy those pickups by themselves. So I bought a whole guitar. I bought a PRS. It will be here on Friday. Well, it will be at my house on Friday. So we bought a PRS. It's beautiful. I posted a picture of it on our timeline. It's going to be sweet. So we're going to do some tests with that. We're going to talk about those pickups, those TCI pickups. And then actually one of you viewers on YouTube actually already bought the guitar from me. So I'm just going to sell it to you for, you know, and if, here's the thing too, if you ever want to do that, if there's a guitar that you want me to buy and do tests with, if you want it, let me know and be like, hey, I always wanted to see something on this particular guitar and I want to buy one anyway. I'll buy it and then you can just pay me for it and I'll send it to you. And we'll do it like that. That doesn't bother me at all. I would totally do that. I don't want you to buy a guitar and send it to me. That doesn't work because we don't have that. So anyway, yes, that is very cool. So, and then the other thing is we got a bunch of pickups some of you have sent me. I got lace sensors to cut apart. I got some really cool stuff. So, and thanks for all your support over the last few days. If we and then the other thing is, what was I gonna say? this week has been insane. So, and as we post some more, you'll see why it's been a ridiculous week. We've been working. Remember last week I told you I don't really have a place to shoot. That's why I've been shooting outside a lot. We've been living with my in-laws. We are working on correcting that problem this week, and it's been not problem, but changing our circumstances. And it has been an adventure. I'll just say that, and you'll see more about that coming up. Let's see. Just kind of looking through here to see if there's anything. Okay, so let's talk about why we shouldn't hate on Rob Chapman. It's real simple. I don't care. I don't care what you think of him, and you shouldn't care what I think of him. I do not have an opinion about all the things that went online. I don't normally do these kind of videos, but all these things that went online about him, and the fighting back and forth, and the YouTuber that brought up all the issues, the bullying back and forth, all of those things, I do not have an opinion on any of it because I don't tend to make opinions on things that are not my business. And that is not my business. So, the reason I'm bringing this up, we need to stop hating on Rob Chapman or stop making a big deal out of it, because we need to stop this altogether. There was an article that came out in, I don't remember if I think it's Guitarist magazine. I posted it on my Facebook yesterday. And the title of this magazine, and you're going to hear me harp on this, and if you don't agree with me, we'll talk about not agreeing and agreeing in a minute. It's called the Guitar World. The biggest threat to the guitar, it could well be guitarists. How online hate endangers the instrument we love. Here's the thing, folks. We spend far too much time on the internet hating on each other's stuff. This guitar is an art form. Guitar is a hobby. Guitar is something that a lot of people really love. We all love it. That's why we're here. If we claim to love this so much, and we claim to love our guitars, and we claim to love music, and we claim to love our amps, and we claim to love playing in front of other people, there's no hate in there anywhere. The only time we get this hater stuff and this troll stuff is between guitar players. Why is that? It makes no sense whatsoever. There's no reason for anybody to hate on Rob Chapman. Would you be defensive if you had this type of following that he does, and somebody got online and ripped you a new one? Did he take it a little personal and maybe react a little wrong? Probably. But you know what? We probably all would. It's happened to me before. And people could say, well, I don't like his personality. I think he's a little stuck up. I think he's a little arrogant. That's why we have millions of YouTube channels, because you can go and pick somebody that you identify with, somebody that you connect with, somebody that you share the same values with, somebody that you enjoy watching, the personalities. And if you do not like those other people, if you do not like somebody, shut up, mind your own business, and play guitar, period. And people will say, and you've heard me say this many times before, people will get on the internet or get on my YouTube channel and they'll say, well, it's just the internet. That's the way the internet is. No. I'm a person. I'm a person with feelings and a life outside of this video that I'm making right now. YouTubers are not a head on a camera. They're a person with families and if you think, and then people will say, well, they put themselves out there, so they should be able to handle it. There is some truth to that, because you do have to have a bit of a thick skin. But here's the interesting thing about it. I also know that just as I am a person on this side of the camera, I know that you are a person on that side of the camera. And when I speak to the camera, because people will say that I'm arrogant or condescending sometimes, and I'm like, no, it's not that. It's I'm being as real with you as I possibly can be. And I'm talking to you like me and you are sitting here having a beer. Well, we wouldn't have a beer in the Jeep, but we're sitting here having a beer, a cup of coffee. And I'm talking to you as normal as possible and as real as possible. And if that sounds condescending to you, because sometimes in our videos, we drop some friggin' truth bombs that like challenge your belief system about tone wood or about guitar finishes, with a scientific background and a physics background and a mechanical engineering background that I have, and people think that's condescending because I'm challenging their belief system a little bit. I'm sorry, but I mean, the earth ain't flat. And if you think I am talking to you like you're stupid because you think the earth is flat, prove me wrong. Just prove me wrong. Right? And so we can all sit around, and if we were all sitting around a table, all 95 of us right now who are watching this, we're in a bar, we're all hanging out and talking about music, nobody would be hating on each other. There would be that one guy that would walk up to the stage and look at the pedal board. And this is what musicians do. So this is the whole point of this video. This is the whole point of this part of this video. This is what musicians do. They will sit in the second row of the bar, and they will walk up to the stage, and they'll look at oh, that's stupid, I wouldn't use that. Why do you even say that? Why do you bring that up? Why does the words or the thoughts even come out of your mouth? Why do you post that in a comment on YouTube? Why do you post that in a comment on Facebook? There's a difference between I would do something differently and I hate what you're doing. So what happens is, me and you, I don't like Les Pauls. I'll never own a Les. Well, I wouldn't say I'd never own a Les Paul. There's one Les Paul that I really, really want, but it's one particular guitar. Like, I need to get it from this guy. But I'm not a Les Paul fan. I don't care about him. I would never really own a Firebird. I don't care about him. I love vintage instruments, but I don't care about them. I don't follow that religion of vintage instruments. I don't care about them. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to get online and be like, I hate Les Pauls. I'm not going to get online and be like, your guitar is stupid. I'm not going to get online. This happened on my video 2 weeks ago, when we did the whole thing about tuning and tuning stability. Oh, no, the whole thing about tips for beginner guitar players. There was a bunch of people that got in the comments and are like, I can't believe people go and get their strings changed at Guitar Center. They should learn how to do that themselves. Those people are stupid. You need to shut up, man. That's ridiculous. You need to calm down and realize that there are different people on different journeys all over this deal. And if we are going to upbuild the entire community, which is what my channel does, this is what we do here, then we're going to work very hard to make sure that no matter the experience level or lack of experience level, the quality of gear from a $129 Squire to all the way up to a $30,000 custom guitar, that these people, we're all on the same level. We're all doing exactly the same thing, and we're playing the exact same thing. And honestly, most of you are all playing the exact same thing. So if you're all playing an AC/DC riff or a Led Zeppelin riff, what does it matter? Nobody cares. The point is, be creative, be upbuilding to each other, and stop tearing down the next guitar player that sits next to you. Start building people up. Be like, hey, you're less experienced than me? Let's chat in a message and see if we can get together on something. Teach each other stuff. Learn stuff together. Raise the entire thing up. If you say you love music, you love guitars, you love Led Zeppelin, you whatever, focus on all those things that you love and share that with other people. If you do not like a certain pedal, nobody cares that you don't like that pedal. And when you put that on the internet, all you're doing is causing problems. That's all you're doing. And the reason I brought Rob Chapman up is because he is a polarizing factor for a lot of people. Um, I don't have an opinion on him. I'm one of these people that if somebody gives me a reason, then I may have an opinion. If somebody gives me a reason to feel a certain way about somebody, usually that means if you lie to me or you diss me outright, you know, but I'm a forgiving person too, and I need to know the whole story. And so, you know, I'm not going to just, you know, spout off opinions about a person and be like, I think he's a jerk. I think he's a whatever. What I think he's a guy from England in a room with a bunch of gear all around him, and he wants to share what he does with other people. And he has a way to do that that most people don't have. And he is doing a thing that most people, let's be frank, don't have the balls to do. To get online, put his personality and risk himself and his business to share what he does and what he loves with other people. I think a lot of people don't understand the risk that YouTubers go to put themselves on the internet. It is a thing. Um, One day when me and you are having a beer together and I invite you, um, I do a lot of traveling. I'm going to do better about announcing where we are around the country. Well, probably mostly on Patreon. And I hope that I get to meet most of you. And I hope that I get to, you know, actually share a coffee or a beer. Um, and even the people that hate our stuff in our comments. You know, one of the things about people that hate stuff in comments on the internet is uh they don't they don't have those balls in person. They don't. Um, However, if we're being honest, you are sharing a part of your personality on the internet. It's like being drunk. You are really like however you are when you're drunk. You just don't show it most of the time. So if you're a jerk on the internet, that's not just I'm just on the internet. No, you're really showing who you are to people. So just remember that before you click send. You'll hear me say this before, and I know that people are going to be like, I usually like watching your videos because they're technical and stuff. But when I have opinions, I'm going to share them. And this live thing is where we're going to do that because, you know, obviously I don't really need to make a whole video all about this stuff. You know, like a pre-recorded video. We don't need to do any of that. You know, I mean, really. So, and just remember that the other thing is an uh, opinion doesn't need to be disrespectful. You can share an opinion. It doesn't need to be disrespectful. A lot of people have accused me of censoring my YouTube comments. I don't do that. The only time I'll ever delete a comment is when there's a lot of profanity in it. Actually, YouTube um, deletes, or well, they don't publish comments with profanity in them or hate speech in them. And so I actually don't do that. YouTube actually does that. And the only time I will delete a comment is not when it is a differing opinion, uh, but when a person is really trying to like promote their own business on my page. That's out of that's bad taste. I won't do that. And then the other thing I won't put up with is people hating on each other. I'll stop those conversations. And that is not censorship. That is because I'm a nice person and I don't like having mean people around me. And this is my community and this is all my stuff that I'm sharing. And I'm hoping to build a community around this. And you can't build community without You can't build a community and allow hate to go on. You just can't. We don't need a community like that. And that's why Dylan Talks Tone is different. That is also why we don't have 100,000 subscribers, because people they like that controversy. I think if I was more angry, you know, if I was more Scott Grovey, people would probably, I'd have 100,000 subscribers. But I just don't believe that that is the way to do it. I believe uh, a positive environment for guitar players is the way to create community. And for those of you that have met me in person, so many of you have, we've shared some beers and some French fries and some coffee and some whatever, you know, over the last few years. Uh, you know, keep profanity out of the picture, but a negative opinion is just as good as a good one. I agree. No, that's exactly right. And so this is what you need to do though when you do that. Share it and say, this is how I feel about a thing and this is what I love. And and it's different from you. Instead of what you're doing is wrong and I don't want to be, you know what I mean? It's just different. Anyway, that's it, man. Uh yeah, dude, I love French fries. I love French fries and I don't eat hamburgers because I'm vegan, so um yeah, man. That's it. This is it. I love hanging out with y'all. I got to tell you, these live things are super fun, and I appreciate everybody that came to hang out. Um, and I hope that this article crossed with all this stuff. I saw Rob have to get on there and be like super contrite and super, and I'm like, man, just treat the dude like a human being. He's not just a face on a YouTube video, you know? And we all are that way. So I just want to share that. This guitar comes Friday. I'm super excited. Next week, we have a bunch of cool stuff to share with you. Next Thursday, we're going to do the FAQ, and we might have some other things that might not be necessarily music related, but I want to share them with you because I want you to understand what's happening to Dylan Talks Tone. We are building pickups, we are building guitars, we're doing all the things that we normally do, but things are changing around here, and so I want to be able to share that with you. So I'm really, really super excited, and I appreciate um, I wish I was big enough to get trash talked. That's right. If you don't have haters, you're not doing something right, right? No, that's awesome. Thanks for hanging out, and I appreciate everybody hanging out with me. We will see you on Monday. I've got a video on Monday, and it's going to be about the difference between brass, bone, plastic, and tusk nuts. So we're going to talk about those, okay? So we're going to talk about nuts on Monday, which is really cool. And we are going to do a live thing next Thursday again. And we need to think about what we're going to give away in March, right? Comment over on the timeline thing in this video, whatever. We should give something away in March. I haven't thought about it yet. I don't know what we're going to do. So maybe we should do that. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all. You guys are awesome. And I hope you have a good week.